Yeah.
Okay. So you survived a lightning strike.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would like to say the lightning strike survived you.
Yeah. Yes. It was powerful. I could not move. Even if I wanted to, I could not. Like, it just stopped me in my track. So once I was able to go again, I got the kids back inside, and I kind of just sat and was like, that was crazy, you know? But the next day I actually had an appointment to see my doctor to get more Adderall.
Oh.
And I mentioned to the nurse, like, I kind of got, struck by lightning indirectly. And she just looked at me and she was like, did you go to the hospital? I said, no, I'm fine. She's like, that could have blew out like your heart and everything. She's like, do you know how lucky you are? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, do you know how many times I've heard that in my life? Lucky I am to have survived something. And so there was that. So these weird things, that were happening in my life. And then when I discovered that it was technology, and I started looking a little bit more into what do I need to do to get rid of it. Deliverance, I'd heard about deliverance. I didn't know much about it. Spiritual warfare. The most I learned when I was in Bible school, spiritual warfare, was to rebuke it in Jesus' name. Like, that was the extent of my spiritual warfare. And basically, we don't focus on it, because if you focus on Satan and demons, then you are welcoming them into your life.
Wow.
So learning that, and at the same time, having other believers telling me that God is punishing me, which just was reinforcing other programming that I had, that God already hated me. So, I would ask God, like, if I'm doing something wrong, can you tell me? I will stop. Like, please let me know what I'm doing wrong to deserve this. That was still my thinking. So I just continued on just learning what I could. And I had talked to another friend. I had gotten onto some Facebook groups, some Bible prophecy ones and some other spiritual ones. And I met a girl that was very in tune with, like, the spiritual realm, and she actually came out of New Age and everything herself. And I was kind of explaining some stuff to her about what I was going through, and she's like, well, it sounds like you need deliverance. And I'm sitting there like, deliverance? I don't have demons. Like, I'm a Christian. We don't have demons. And so I told her, I was like, why would I need deliverance? I was so offended, offended that she even suggested that I would need deliverance. But I sat and I listened to her, and she was like, well, there's stuff there that everybody needs some type of deliverance. And I was like...
Now, when she said that, some of the thoughts, like 2 guardians following you around, and all these, encounters in the spirit world that you mentioned in our first conversation, all that, none of that came to mind. It was just, how dare you?
Yes.
Can I just say at this juncture, I really have to say this. I have found that some of the most staunch opponents to the conversation around deliverance, deprogramming, and inner healing come from people that need it the most.
Yes.
I mean, and truly, it's the programming in them itself rearing up against that. Also, the truth, like the whole truther movement, some of the most staunch critics of it are the ones that are involved on the other side, maintaining a false reality overlay, or have programming to maintain their own internal false reality overlay. And the reaction is protective. Don't touch the programming sitting inside. You need to keep your truth on the other side of my fence. Thank you very much. So, okay. Please continue.
So I was kind of thinking about it more and what she was saying, and I was still like, I take it to Wes and be like, so this girl said I need deliverance.
Wow.
Like, I thought Christians can't have demons. Like, I was told we can't because Jesus wants me, like all of the things that I heard. But at the same time, I was like, okay, so if that's the case, then what do I do? So I started looking into it more. Because I'm one of those people, even though if it sounds crazy, I'm still going to keep it right there in the back of my head. I'm going to look into it out of just pure curiosity. So I kind of started looking more into it. And from what I was coming across and found, I was like, okay, it sounds like I'm a targeted individual with this stuff. Because it went from saying I had the mark of the beast to, like, just all this crazy stuff and the targeted individual stuff. And then I thought back about what happened previously with us, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that sounds exactly like what I was dealing with. And so I had to figure out, like, how to get rid of the technology. And I started learning about cleansing the bloodline, generational curses. I was like, okay, I can, I'll do that. So I started kind of doing that. It was still just continued to get worse. And it was 2016. We were out in our pool, and I was in so much pain. And for the first time I ever heard God's voice so clearly, he told me that he was going to heal me and he was going to deliver me. And he did not say when, he did not say how, but he said that he was going to do it. And I just took him at his word. And I think it was because I knew that was the first time I heard his voice so clearly and knew without a shadow of a doubt that it was him. And so I know that that was done too because it gave me something to hold on to. Because as I continued with this journey, it just got worse. And it would have almost made me lose hope in, like, it's pointless, it's useless. There's nothing that can be done for this. But I had that to hold on to. And even one of my friends, who was also another targeted individual, asked me, like, how do you keep going so strong with this? And I said, because God told me he's going to heal me, and I'm holding on to that. And I said, I don't know, if that means he takes me home, then okay, I'm healed. But either way, I'm going to believe that one way or another, it's going to happen. And so as I continued on down that journey, I did all of the bloodline stuff. I was like, okay, I started looking into just very little into my family history. I seen the Freemasonry, learned about Freemasonry. I was like, okay, well, I need to go through and get rid of all that, and then maybe that'll get rid of this, So, still, it wasn't budging. I was like, well, then I'm just going to wait on God. I figured I did all that I needed to do. And as I'm waiting, I had another lady that was needing help with some stuff, and I offered to help her with some deliverance stuff. I was like, oh, I can help you. I've had it myself, so I think I can help you. But we got to a point to where it was going good, but then all of a sudden I seen what looked like a ritual going on, and nothing we were doing was helping. And I was sitting there thinking, like, there's something more to this that I don't know. Like, this isn't demons. And so I started looking into satanic ritual abuse. And when I came across certain stuff, it triggered me so bad. So that is how my journey to knowing that I had more than just the targeting started. So God led me through a complete journey of breaking generational curses, going through cleansing my bloodline. I did this for 2 years, just bloodline and generational stuff, searching, getting all the information, knowledge that I could about it, because I was bedridden basically anyways. So I made it my point to do that, and then I was going to pass it along to other people as well. That was my goal. So he led me through all of that, and then the programming. And I started finding stuff, your guys' stuff. I type in the weird stuff, and I find Brad Ministries. And so I started listening to some of, like, other people's testimonies, and, like, it was just everything inside of me was just, like, going haywire. And then